People aren't afraid when we're willing to go big, when we're going to be as big as God made us to be.
When we want to follow an invisible God, that sometimes it's hard to figure out, like, how do you do that? And one of the things I've learned along the way is when I do stuff, I find out just a little bit more about him. And so Love Does is just a compilation of stories about jumping the tracks. And what I've learned along the way as Jesus has unfolded these incredible, like kind of unlikely things. And it had nothing to do with my planning. That's the coolest part. We just stumble into stuff, and it isn't because of who we are, it's because who God is.
I got to tell you how our parade ended this year, because we needed a grand marshal in a big way. And so we had one, and he was about 4 feet tall. But he stood the size of a giant. And after the parade was over, I was thinking, how many balloons would it take to lift this kid off the ground? And I'm a lawyer! Can you believe it? We're tying balloons on balloons. It looked like up. But you know what happened at 1,000 balloons? That! Lift off! That's what happens. When we're not afraid anymore, we start doing stuff.
I decided a long time ago I was going to write down everything I remembered. Everything I remembered about Jesus. Things that I felt like I've understood about the character of Christ, the character that I'm trying to develop in myself. And I decided to sit down in my favorite chair and just write a book about that. And I call the book Love Does, because that has been the theme throughout everything. The love doesn't just think about it, love doesn't just plan it, love does it. Honestly, I wrote the book for folks that are on the edge, looking in. People that are hear about faith, but they feel like there's just a bunch of impediments between them and that. And so the idea of using some stories, it said in Matthew 15 that Jesus never spoke to anyone once without telling them a parable. And he oftentimes started out his stories by saying, you know, you used to think this, but now I want you to think this way. And so that's what the Love Does book is about. And each chapter starts out by saying, you know, I used to think this, but now, after I've thought about it for a while, I really think this. And tried to just tease that out in some stories that have happened throughout life that have given me a better perspective on who Jesus is and how I fit into his program. One of the things that has been true in my life is that the people who've impacted me the most are the people who are most available to me, right? It's that way for everybody. And so when we were finishing up the book, I thought, you know what? I'm going to put my cell phone number in the back of the book. And I did. And ever since the book got released, I've gotten hundreds of calls. It's been unbelievable. And you know what? Instead of thinking these as disruptions of the day, they are the day. And spending just a couple minutes, just talking, being available, man, that's the body of Christ. That's what we want to be about, is we make ourselves available to each other with palms up. Everybody's got a couple minutes. And I know I do. And you know who the big winner is? Me. It's been amazing. This is what I hope that people would take away from reading Love Does, that they would think that I can do this thing, that it's within reach. They'd figure out who it is that God made them to be, not just what they're able to do anymore, but who is it that they were made to be, and then they just start living into that. They take the next step, and they'd say, I'm going to go do that. And when we realize that we're invited to follow Jesus and do these inexplicable things, not just silly stuff, big stuff in people's lives, it changes everything.